やっつけちゃったよ。あー、かわいい。お持ち帰りしたい。
Making sure Rena couldn't see it, Satoko stuck her tongue out at us. Damn it all, using Rena like a puppet. Rika-chan massaged our bruises without saying a word. She's so bad. No matter what the day held, the last school bell always came too soon. Our shadows stretched off into the distance.
ねえ、ケイチくん、明日はさ、何か予定とかあるかな？
It was such a direct question from Rena. I inadvertently blushed. If it was for a date, then wouldn't you do it more subtly? Rena saw me lost for words and realized that I misunderstood, and turned red as well.
違うの。そういうのじゃなくて、
So apparently, that wasn't what she meant. But since it's always fun with Rena when Rena's in a panic, I went along with it a little.
なんだ、そういうのじゃないのかよ。
Playing it up, I slumped my shoulders, feigning dejection.
ケイチくん、なんでがっかりしてるんだろう、太郎。みーち
ゃん。Unable to hold it in any longer, Mion slapped me on the back.
そっか、そういう攻め方はおじさん知らなかったわ。
Mion was rolling on the floor, clutching her stomach while Rena flailed around, completely bewildered. I couldn't help but start laughing as well. Feeling just a bit guilty, I ruffled Rena's hair.
嘘、ごめん、冗談。悪かったよ。
She really is a cute one.
冗談ってどこからだろう。
途中から。
She's like, when was it a joke?
途中からってことは、ケイちゃん、最初の真っ赤になったのはあれ演技じゃないんだ。
それって。
It was only a momentary lapse, but there was no way Mion would let such a delectable detail slip by her.
いや、その。
She caught that. That's crazy. Saying anything more was also a bad idea. In my bewildered state, I slipped further into an unfavorable position. After that, Mion continued to tease me about it for a while.
で、明日が暇だと何なんだよ、レナ。
何の話だっけ？
It had been so long that Rena had forgotten. That's how long Mion had teased me.
ケイちゃんさ、まだこのひなみ沢一人じゃ回れないでしょ？
That was true. I hate to say it, but if you blindfolded me and spun me around 3 times like we were playing pin the tail on a donkey, I wouldn't be able to tell up from down. Here.
そうだな。町へ行くのと学校へ行く以外はまだ自信ないな。
そうそう。それでね、明日ね、みーちゃんとレナでお散歩しながらケイチくんにひなみ沢を案内してあげようよってことになって。
That would be a godsend, frankly. I was happy about the offer.
もちろん行くでしょ。
暇ならな。
女の子が誘ってんじゃん。
暇ならな。
どうせ暇なんでしょ。
暇ならな。
I was being stubborn, so as not to give a clear yes or no. Even though I thought it was a godsend, I'm too much of a scamp to say so up front.
ケイチくん、暇じゃないのかな？
They're really taking that serious. While Mion and I had our rather sour back and forth, Rena peeked over at me hesitantly. Figuring I'd been too rough on her, I just gave in.
すまん、許せ、ごめん。暇だ。
よかった。
The trepidation disappeared from Rena's face as it blossomed into a smile.
おうおう。ミヨンさんとレナさんじゃ随分と温度差がありますじゃん。
It seems Mion didn't care for how rude I was to her, compared to how quickly I agreed with Rena. Yeah, she didn't like it, didn't care for her. But her being annoyed was very interesting. So I pushed Rena forward, speeding up our pace to leave Mion behind.
行こう、レナ。明日は二人っきりで出かけような。嫌味なミオンは置いてって。
ケイチくんがそれでいいなら。
No way, she would just leave Mion.
案内しようって提案したのは私。しかとすんな、前原圭一。
二人きりでピクニック嬉しいな。弁当は持ってくか、レナ。
お弁当いるならレナ作っちゃおうかな。
レーナもしかとすんな。二人がホテル街へ消えたって回覧す。
じゃあレナ、今日は早く帰ってお弁当の準備するね。
What just happened?
明日が楽しみ。じゃあね、ケイチくんにみーちゃん、さようなら。
Rena bounded off like she was walking on the moon. After the dust settled, all that was left was me standing next to Mion, sprawled on the ground, with a welt on her face. Did she punch her in the face?
大丈夫か？ミオンとレナの立ち位置、2メートルは離れてたはずだぞ。
あんたが来て以来、切れ味は増す一方。おじさん身が持たないわ。
Maybe it'd be easier if you stopped saying stuff that makes Rena want to hit you. Or else, this will end up being Mion's slapstick comedy hour. If that happened, the results might be fatal.
くじけるなよ、ミオン。レナのジャブを見切れるのはお前しかいない。
私は膝じゃないかと思ってんだけどね。
It felt like it was her knee. She needs you in the face. Could it be that we're hanging around with an unrivaled martial arts master? Maybe someday we'll see her debut in an extreme contact sport.
レナには負けられないぞ。ミオンも鍛えてリベンジだ。
ケイちゃんがしてよ。おじさんは応援してる。
Mion and I reaffirmed our determination to discover a way to counter Rena's infallible technique. Tips acquired. View new tips. View all tips. So, what is this? We're a mixed grade. We don't have a uniform.
レナってさ、俺と同い年だったよな。
うん、そうだよ。も同じだよね。
Hey now. It would be weird if we were about the same age but not the same zodiac animal.
そんなことないよ。誕生日の違いがあれば年齢が同じでも干支が違うこともありえるって。
あれ、あ、そうか。ミオン、頭いいじゃないか。
ところで、ケイチ君は何月生まれなのかな？レナは7月なんだよ。
Rena smirked and puffed up with pride. Hey now, what's the meaning of this? She's not planning to be all high and mighty if her birthday is a wee bit sooner than mine, is she?
だが諦めろ。俺に誕生日で挑もうったって無駄なことだ。なんなら一月差ごとに100円の賭けをしてもいいぜ。
なんでだろう。なんでだろう。
Rena panicked at suddenly being challenged to a wager. Given how panicked she is, I'm certain she doesn't have much allowance left this month. It's just sending her into a panic about something as simple as a birthday is so fun. I can't help myself.
ってことはケイちゃん、ひょっとして4月生まれ？
そういうこったな。残念だな、レナ。俺、もうとっくにレナより年上なんだよ。
へえ、そうなんだ。じゃあ、みーちゃんと同い年なんだね。
まあ、ほんの何ヶ月かはね。すぐにまた差を開いてあげるけどさ。
Mion snickered through her nose. Hey now, that's not something to get all high and mighty about. As if I'm one to talk.
そういえば、ミオンって上級生なんだよな。
So, I believe this is something that happened in the past. This isn't something currently happening. We're looking at a past event, I believe.
下級生の方が燃えるってんなら、今日から下級生ってことでもいいけど。
みーちゃん、よくわかんないこと言ってる。
Just by seeing Rena's blushing face, you could tell she knew exactly what she meant by it, though.
で、サトコとリカちゃんが下級生と。どころか、学校が違うくらいの下級生だよな。
ケイチ君はちょっと好みの年齢が低すぎると思うな。
You're not making any sense yourself, Rena. I'll just grab onto her head and scruff it up a bit.
やめて
前から思ってたんだけどさ、なんでこの学校ってクラスが学年混在なんだ？
教室の数が足りないからだよ。仕方ないじゃん。営林署の建物を間借りしてんだからさ。
She says it like that, it makes sense. I've thought our school was strange for a while now. The schoolyard is gravel. There are rooms that aren't for classes. And there's some strange sort of construction machinery parked here.
なんで借りてるんだよ。本当の学校はどうしちゃったんだよ。
戦前からずーっと立ってたらしいからね。老朽化でね。廃校ってわけよ。
It was probably a grand old schoolhouse.
まあそれで生徒は町の学校に通うことになったんだけどさ、遠いでしょ。
どこの学校だったの？
沖宮の駅前通りを抜けて病院に曲がって小児科の向かいに学校あるのわかる？
遠いよ。
I couldn't tell where that was by the location, but I understood it was pretty far from Rena's reaction.
まあそんなわけでさ、沖宮の学校に通いたくない連中はこうして営林署の建物を間借りした仮校舎に通ってるってわけさ。
ひなみ沢の子供の半分くらいかな。朝早くに自転車で通ってる子たちも結構いるよ。
まあこんなはちゃめちゃな学校に通ってたら進学校とかはちょっと無理だろうからね。
そんなことないよみーちゃん。ちゃんと頑張ればどこでだってお勉強はできるよ。
お、そうだぞそうだぞ。レナとは意見が一致したな。
そうだねそうだね。頑張ろう。
せいぜい頑張ってくださいな。おじさんはささやかに応援しとりますわ。
Stop calling yourself that. The heck?
俺たちがじゃないぞ。ミオンがだぞ。お前受験生だろ。こんな成績じゃお先真っ暗だぞ。
いいもんいいもん。路頭に迷ったら永久就職してケイちゃんに食わせてもらうから。
永久就職ってなんだろう。
ほらそこうるさいですよ。自習は静かに。
The teacher yelled at all three of us. It was completely our fault. Satoko saw it and contorted haughtily. I stuck out my tongue at her in response. It is just as Mion says. This school has nothing to do with higher education. But it makes up for that by having lots of valuable things other schools don't. Alright, that was cool. So, this is a tip, I guess? I don't know what a tip for what, but we're a mixed grade, and this is the other tip. We don't have a uniform. It's only June, but it's already so hot. I could hear the Higurashi outside chirping, me, me, and at night, there are mosquitoes. It might as well be summer already. My only salvation was that the mornings were still cool.
暑いでございますわね。
Satoko is flapping her skirt languidly. That's pretty unladylike there. Even if she was a little brat, she was still a girl.
ケイチさんはワイシャツ一枚で涼しそうですわね。羨ましいですわ。
俺から見りゃスカートのサトコの方が涼しそうだよ。この時期のズボンの股ぐらがどれだけ蒸すか女のお前にはわかるまい。
蒸すんだ。は
This girl has gone imagining something indecent. I'm starting to like Rena is I don't know.
レナの夏服は涼しそうな色合いがいいよな。見てるこっちも涼しくなる。
ありがとう。本当に涼しいんだよ。私もレナさんみたいな涼しい夏服が良かったですわね。でもさとこちゃんの夏服ワンピースですっごい可愛いし、レナはさとこちゃんの夏服着てみたいな。これ結構蒸しますわよ。絶対にレナさんの方が涼しいですわ。でも可愛い服の方がきっと楽しいよ。はう。
I had a feeling that Rena's and Satoko's base values were fundamentally different.
そういえばこの学校って指定の制服とかないんだよな。
ないよ。ふさわしい服であれば私服でも大丈夫なんだよ。
I mean, there's nothing odd about that, right? Maybe in Japan, but most schools just let you wear regular clothes. There were quite a few students in regular clothes. There were quite a few wearing uniforms. But they were all the same design and rather plain.
他の連中が着てる制服は何なんだよ。みんなお揃いだよな。
あれは町の学校の制服なんですのよ。別に決まってるわけじゃないですけど、みんな着てますわね。
そこへ行くと俺らの仲間はみんないろいろな制服を着てるよな。わざわざどこかから取り寄せたのか？
ええ、ミオンさんが調達してくださいますの。みーちゃんの親類で古着商をやってる人がいて、全国の学校の服を格安で仕入れてるんだって。
でその親類に頼んでいろいろ個性的な制服を取り寄せてもらってるわけか。
That Mion, she probably loves using her friends as dress-up dolls. That must be a strange secondhand clothing store. I get that it's a secondhand clothing store, but stocking clothes from schools all over the country? That's pretty strange for a secondhand clothing store. What's the point in stocking up clothes from faraway schools they know nothing about? That is a little weird.
それはレナも思うよ。他にも体操服とかスクール水着のお風呂とかも扱ってるの。そういうののお風呂はちょっと嫌だよね。
あんまり儲かってなさそうな商売だな。きっと少しでも儲けさせるためにミオンが一肌脱いでやってるんだろうな。
でもいつもミオンさんが自信満々に言いますのよ。今にきっと大ブレイクしてすごい商売になるって。
A secondhand clothing store that stocks uniforms will be a big hit? I don't get it. Alright, that was cool. So these give us like some backstory. Alright. Let's save it. I took it a little too easy on the morning of my day off. I was totally late. And to top it off, that pesky mom of mine pushing a return journey errand on me just as I'm about to leave from the house. Today was the day Rena and Mion were going to show me around Hinamizawa. Oh, they have different outfits on. Of course they would, but Rena and Mion were already waiting at the meeting place.
ケイちゃん遅いぞ。
悪い悪い。責めるのは昨べの面白かった特番に行ってくれ。
ほう、女の子との待ち合わせに遅刻して言い訳がそれってわけ？
みーちゃんだって今来たばかりなんだよ。
ゆうべの密着24時間面白かったしねえ。
She was just as guilty as me. Rena was carrying a pretty heavy-looking handbag. What is that? Mion answered my unspoken question with a wink. That's right. Rena really did make a picnic.
ケイちゃん、あの後レナ大張り切りだったらしいよ。
別に俺がけしかけたわけじゃないだろう。
そんな大変じゃなかったから気にしないでよ。
ゆうべから今朝まであのテンションらしいよ。責任取れんの？
わかった。俺も男だ。責任は取る。
責任ってなんだろう。
As we both turned around slowly to look at Rena, our gazes drifted downwards to the massive handbag she was carrying. It didn't seem logically feasible that it would be entirely filled with lunchboxes. Except this was Rena we're talking about.
2キロくらいかな。
2 kilos.
レナね、荷物持つときよっこらしょって言ってた。5キロ。
それはオーバー。ケイチくん男の子だからきっといっぱい食べるだろうと思ってたくさんね。もう行こう。よっこらよっこ。
She actually made that much to where she can't carry it, but from the way she was lifting it up, I couldn't believe the only things in there were lunchboxes.
訂正。俺も5キロ。
手伝いはするけど全部食べるんだからね。レナを悲しませたら許さないよ。
The only thing I could do at that moment was exercise a bit to make myself hungrier. I mean, if she made all that, we should eat it. Having finished with the pleasantries, we begin our leisurely stroll. A carefree walk, bathed in the gentle morning sunlight. I couldn't have even imagined something so wholesome existed during my time in the city. These were the boonies after all. No solitary desk jockeys trudging to work on the weekends out here. It really was a nice place, peaceful and quiet. As sparsely populated as the village was, you could still run into people just by walking around.
あ、こんにちは。
こんにちは。あら、そちらは確か前原くんだったかしら。
My two companions exchanged greetings with everybody we ran across. All of these passerby even knew my name.
なんで俺ってこんなに有名人なんだ？
Everybody knows him. We passed 3 people when all 3 of them knew me. I started to feel a bit paranoid.
悲しいかな。
How do they know us?
ひなみ沢は人が少ないからね。みんな顔見知りなんだよね。
I guess that makes sense.
つまりなんだ、知らない顔が歩いてればそれは自動的に新しく引っ越してきた前原さんってことになるわけか。
うん、そういうことになるね。
So they don't actually know his face. They're just assuming it's him. It was a process of elimination. You could only pull off in a place like this, but it was quite effective. That's funny. From now on, I better make sure to maintain a good reputation. The day I discovered accidentally gawking at dirty magazine in a bookstore, I can expect all the villagers labeling me as a lech by the next day. Hinamazawa is not to be trifled with. Basically, word gets around fast. Be careful. That's not the end of this nightmare.
もちろんわかるよ。最初に会ったのが牧野林店の竹蔵おじさん。趣味は盆栽と尺八なんだよ。
次が乾物屋の次男の大輔くん。趣味は狙撃で、将来の夢は超 A 級スナイパーだとか。それで今の人は入江診療所の看護師の美代さん。趣味は野鳥の観察と撮影だって。
すれ違った全員の名前までわかるのかよ。プロフィールまで。
Seeing my surprise, Mion and Rene exchanged looks and burst into laughter. Hey, are they making this up?
まあね。ここいらは都会みたいにご
They
近所
actually
付き合
do
い
know
が
these
希薄
people.
じゃないからね。
試しに聞いてみよう。
I wonder if towns like this actually exist, like where everybody knows everybody. Like you hear about it, but I mean, actually, really?
今ここにいる俺は誰だ？
前原圭一くん。意地悪なこと言うけど本当は優しいテレ屋さん。
転校してきてようやく3週間。趣味は昼寝。最近トランクス派に転校
What?
したよね。
もういいもういい。
トランクス。
それもいい。
Apparently, there's absolutely nothing you can keep hidden here. Hinamazawa was not a place to be trifled with.
これじゃあさ、俺のための案内ってより俺のお披露目みたいだな。
そうだね。うちらさ、これだけ賑やかに練り歩いてたからね。みんな思うんじゃない？ケイちゃんもひなみ沢に馴染んでくれたんだって。
ひなみ沢は過疎だから村中みんなが新しい仲間を歓迎してくれてるの。
I thought about brushing it off with something to the effect of, "You're kidding me," but I held back. Had I ever greeted someone who just moved into the city like this before? Thinking about that made me believe what they said wasn't a joke at all. We passed by another person. Of course, we were called out again the same way.
あらこんにちは。仲良しそうでいいわね。
藤島さんちのおばさんだよ。こんにちは。
あら前原くん、両手に花でいいわね。どう？生活はもう慣れた？
Instead of regurgitating a prepared response like I would have in the city, I responded with an empathetic nod. The old woman chuckled, voicing her appreciation of how energetic I was.
グッド。
As I looked back over to Rena and Mion, they gave me a wink.
でね、そろそろお昼にしないかな。
Rena's brilliant smile signaled the approach of an event that both Mion and I were trying to forget. We both looked at each other.
俺も男だ。努力はする。だが量が多すぎる。
よしケイちゃん、ここはおじさんに任せなさい。
Mion has never seemed as reliable as she does now. I'd expect no less from the class representative.
レナ、どうせ食べるならさ、見晴らしのいいところで食べない？
それいい。賛成。
Rena nodded her head happily in response to Mion's proposal. Cresting the top of a stone stairway, the shrine drawn straight out of my imagination appeared before us. It had worn down a bit, though, through the years, but the fallen leaves had been swept up, giving it a tidy feeling.
ここはね、古出神社っていうの。多分見晴らしが一番いいところかな。
ここの場所、よく覚えといてね。もうすぐここでお祭りがあるんだから。
へえ、祭りにしちゃちょっと早いシーズンだよな。
綿流しは夏祭りじゃなくてね、昔は冬の終わりを喜ぶお祭りだったらしいよ。
I was embarrassed for assuming that festivals had to be held in the summer.
さて、弁当を広げてっと。
Look at this place. That's beautiful back there. Various colored lunchboxes were placed, one after the other, on top of the plastic sheet. It sure did smell delicious. It was Rena's home cookie. It went without saying that it would be delicious. Is it even possible to finish all this? Hey, Mion. I'll take more than just a good view. It'll take more than just a good view to get all this down. You know.
こんにちはです。
Oh, it's Rika. And Satoko. Why are they here? Mion grinned over at me. I see. This was her secret plan. The power in numbers. You have my thanks, Mion. Following up when all the pieces are in place. This is my specialty.
騒がしいから来てみれば、これは何ですの？
見りゃわかるだろ。これからランチタイムだ。ビュッフェスタイルだ。レナの手作り弁当に舌鼓だ。
そんなの見ればわかるでございますわ。どうして人様の庭でご座なんか広げてますの？
Why have you laid out a tarp on our property?
神社は公共の場所だぞ。勝手に独占するな。
圭一の言う通りですよ。みんなのお庭にしますです。
くー、やっぱりリカちゃんはいい子だな。座りな、そこ。一緒に食べよう。
After opening up a spot for Rika-chan, I promptly turned my back to Satoko.
ちょっとお待ちなさいな。私はどこに座ればいいんですの？
お前に座る場所はないし食べる分もない。
大丈夫だよ。さとこちゃんの分もちゃんとあるから。
ない。さとこの分も俺がいただく。
そんなことは許せませんのリカはい、お箸です。
Both Satoko and I leapt at the boxes, having it out with each other.
いやはや、ケイちゃん乗せるのうまいわ。ほんと才能あるのかもしれない。
はい、お皿。みーちゃんもリカちゃんも。
Rena whipped out a pair of chopsticks and paper plates.
僕たちも頑張らないとなくなってしまうです。
そうだね。よし、参戦と行くかな。
いっぱい食べてね。ちゃんとみんなの分あるから。
Rena said as she opened the thermos. Just then, I realized that this lunch was made under the assumption that 5 people would be eating. It didn't change how much there was, but the implication behind it was different.
そのハンバーグは渡しませんわ。
いや、肘は反則だろう、さとこ。
襟首をつかむのも反則でございます。
It was a tough battle, blocking her full momentum and an elbow in the opening moves. Satoko appeared to have the upper hand, but the differences in our proficiency with chopsticks proved to be fatal, and it gave me the upper hand.
最後のミートボール。
校長さとこ、破れたり。
They all get along well. Satoko and I amicably begin choking at the same time, falling backwards and spasming. Rika-chan patted me on the head to clear it, even though it was actually stuck in my throat. Seeing that made Rena blush and breathe heavy in excitement. It was almost like flowers were floating around her. Mion advised Rena to refrain from saying anything that could get her locked up. This is how our meals usually go. I'd do anything in my power just so things could stay like this. The intense battle calmed. And finally, everyone reached a point where they could begin talking. Receiving tea from the thermos, I let out a small sigh.
日本語ってやつはさ、どうしてこう味に対する賛辞が少ないんだろうな。
食事中の団らんって考えがそもそも近代に入ってからだからじゃない？
昔の人は無言で食事を済ませたそうだし、作る人もちょっぴり寂しかったろうね。きっと昔の人は食べるのに忙しくて味を褒める暇もなかったのですわ。
That's just you.
でもね、美味しいの一言だけでも嬉しいよ。苦労の甲斐があったかなって。
She blushed a little as she said that.
美味しいです。
With absolutely perfect timing, Rika-chan struck Rena's directly with praise. She looked straight at her with an expression of bewitching innocence.
は？
は？
After, Rena uttered an unintelligible noise. A ring of smoke rose from her head with an audible poof.
リカちゃん、お持ち帰りじゃなくて、ありがとう。本当に美味しかったですよ。
Rena flushed red with excitement, embracing Rika-chan and rubbing her cheek against her so hard you could almost hear it.
リカちゃんには褒めてもらったお礼に、じゃーん、これをサービスね。
2 apple rabbits. After sticking toothpicks in them, she thrust them towards Rika-chan. After Rika-chan accepted them, the mood suddenly shifted in a bizarre way.
なんだよサトコ、その挑戦的な目は。
皆さんにはレナさんのリンゴを獲得できるだけの賛辞が用意できまして。
強気じゃんよ。ボキャ品のあんたにどんな賛辞が思いつくっての？
ではご覧遊ばせ。
That smile. Jeez. That smirk. After Satoko flashed Mion and me a defiant look, she changed the tone of her voice suddenly.
エレナお姉ちゃんのお弁当、サトコも美味しかったよ。
Satoko looked up at her proudly while talking cutesy. What? How is that praise? That's not even persuasion by tears. That's persuasion by cuteness, isn't it? This is a Rena limited special skill. She blushed and her head spun, waving around in circles. Don't fall for it, Rena. Of course, that was asking for the impossible. Rena glommed Satoko and began rubbing her cheek against her.
かいかい。サトコちゃんもかいよ。お持ち帰り。
Swish, stab, push. Satoko was presented with apple rabbits. After stuffing them into her mouth, she looked over at Mion and me, again with a defiant gaze. It took only 5 seconds to take down Rena. That's unfair. To think she had such a trick.
悔しければレナさんにご褒美がもらえるような賛辞をお考え遊ばせ。
Damn it. That was a dirty trick. First of all, that wasn't even praise.
サトコ、それで勝てたつもりとはね。あんたらの底の浅い技とはわけが違うものを見せてあげようじゃない。
それは頼もしいぜミオ。それはどんな技なんだ？
やるのはケイちゃん。
はあ？
見せてもらおうではございませんか。戸島のあがきを。
The plan of attack she suggested was wicked, but was the only thing we had to beat Satoko. After sipping my tea, I started talking very naturally and calming. Perfectly.
本当に美味しいよな。これってさ、全部手作りなのかい？
実はね、これほとんど冷凍物なの。
じゃあレナの手作りのってどれだい？
そのは 恥ずかしいな。教えなきゃダメ？どうしても？
From the synergy of boy plus handmade lunchbox, her expression had melted into euphoria.
わかるよ。これでしょ。
Runa turned an even deeper shade of red, the words, "I can't believe it," practically written on her face.
なんでわかるかな？かな？レナの手作り。
Of course, Mion had told me beforehand. It's been perfect so far. After acting like I was shy, I waited a beat. Next would be the finisher.
レナの匂いがしたから。
Oh my god. This guy's a mess, man. Oh, jeez. Silence enveloped the area. Rena, face still completely red, froze solid. With a small yelp, Satoko also blushed. Oh my gosh. Of course I did too.
レナの手作りのリンゴのうさぎさんが食べたいな。なんて。
Even if this was all because I was competing against Satoko, it felt like I had crossed the line by a good 9 yards, I think. Then at that moment, it was a Tupperware container filled with rabbits.
食べてね、ケイチ君。いっぱいあるんだよ。
Instantly, dozens of the apples were shoved into my mouth, knocking me over.
はい、して、ケイチ君。
What have we done? My head was forcibly laid upon her lap, and even more apples were shoved into my mouth. Oh my God. While she was squealing, one apple after another was forced into my mouth. One more and more apples. How about them apples, Satoko? Looks like we win.
ケイちゃん、殉職見事なり。どうよ、さとこ。うちらの完全勝利だね。
こんな手、信じられないですの。悔しくないもん。
Satoko ground her teeth, mortified. We did it. I claimed victory as my consciousness drifted slowly away from me. At that time, Rena stopped her squealing as she suddenly realized something.
リカちゃん、食べないの？塩水強すぎたかな？かな？
Looking over, Rika-chan had pulled the toothpick out of the apple rabbit, placed it into her cupped hands, and seemed to be at a loss for what to do.
うさぎさんがかわいそうです。
There is no way.
助けてあげてほしいです。
Oh my gosh. That was the sound of blood spurting from Rena's nose. Yeah, that's crazy. That's too cute.
かわいいよ。今夜こそ絶対お持ち帰り。
She's like, she feels sad for the rabbit, the apple rabbit. Then coming back to her senses, she took all of the apples around me, gathered them up with a whip, and fixed them back up on a plate.
これでみんな寂しくないよね。これリカちゃんにあげるね。
She actually just beat us. Rika-chan raised up Satiko's hand like a referee. After having the plate of rabbits shoved to her, she whispered,
僕たちが勝ちましたです。
I know she didn't do that on purpose. This girl.
あ、いやいや。
I just don't care anymore. Thus, my sacrifice ended up being in vain.